Buckle up and get ready for this emotional roller coaster where we laugh, cry, and celebrate women and all that we endure. This heartfelt episode is another raw one, guys. I'm so excited for you to meet Michelle. Her words, her perspective, her vulnerability. She's a kinesiologist, a business owner, new mama, and a wellness advocate. We met in a previous lifetime as different people and reconnected at a time where we had both entered a world of looking at life through a holistic lens. This episode starts off with a beautiful prayer. So let's dive straight in, guys, and I'll see you at the end of the episode. Welcome to the Honesty Policy Hour. I'm your host, Stephanie Marie, and it's time to put everything on the table on this beautiful journey of healing all areas of our lives, one deep conversation at a time.
Okay, so before we get into this prayer, let's just take a few moments to center and ground our energy into what we're doing here today and allowing us to connect to each other as well. So you might like to close down your eyes. I'll do the same. And just starting to connect with your breath. And feeling your sit bones on the chair below you. And maybe opening your hands and just feeling them against your body. Relaxing the shoulders. And noticing any sounds you can hear around you. Softening the muscles of the face. And bring your attention back to your breath. And we're going to take 3 deep inhales through the nose and exhaling out through the mouth in your own time. Bringing your hands to your heart space. And just feeling your heartbeat. And taking a moment to visually or inwardly open our heart space into this honest, beautiful conversation we're about to have. All the lessons and all the blessings that will come through our words and to each other and to all the listeners. And a prayer I love to implement into my day is a thank you prayer. And it goes, thank you for life. Thank you to life. Thank you for you. And thank you for me. Thank you to the mind and the senses. Thank you that I can say thank you. Thank you for what is bitter and what is sweet. And thank you for each and every encounter today. All are lessons for my growing. Thank you. Thank you to life. Thank you. Amen.
Amen.
And taking one more deep breath in. Letting it all go.
That was beautiful. What a delicious way to start the conversation. You are such a big reason for this whole thing, and I am just so happy that we reconnected, and I have so much love for you. So welcome.
Love you right back, girl. It's been pretty special to be a part of your journey.
Thank you so much. You're just, wise upon your years, and I'm really grateful for you and how we reconnected. I'm going to put it to you of how we met.
Okay, this is a very interesting one. Totally different walks of life for both of us.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that was super clear is that I just could feel that we were on the same wave from the moment that we met, even though we had no idea what that wave was. Like, it wasn't this.
No, it was
I could just
not.
feel that presence. Yeah. So I go back, I can't even remember how many years, but I'm going to say at least 6 or 7 years.
It was 9 years ago.
9? Wow. Wow. I was going to say 10. I thought, no, I'm overshooting it. 9 years ago.
It was
Wow.
9 years ago. Yeah.
Okay. So go back 9 years. How old am I? I'm about 22,
Mm-hmm.
23.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hairdressing. I am burnt out. I am doing a million different things, and one of them outside of working full time is working on my weekends doing hair with a makeup artist for people who are doing women who are doing bodybuilding comps. Enter Steph. And so I remember I think we did it twice together, right? Because we did the high
We did.
pony and the wave. I'll never
Oh
forget it.
my gosh, you
I'll
remembered.
never forget. Because I will own this. They are standard looks now, but at that time, right? Those looks weren't in the fitness industry. It was stuck in the 80s. I think we spoke about this too.
It was stuck in the 80s, wasn't it? It was just the ponies, what was it? I can't even remember now.
No, it was, I will tell you because I have nightmares about it still. It was barrel curls,
The
big
barrel
barrel
girls, of
curls,
course.
single curls, 1, 2, 3. You can count them, 4, 5, 6, 7 at the back,
No such thing as brushed out
right?
curls back then.
No such thing. And so I think that was part of my intention doing the work with bodybuilders is I wanted to break that mold and bring it into into the modern time. And I remember meeting you. You were my impression of you in the beginning. One, we connected because we're wogs.
Yes.
Do you agree? Right? That was the mutual. We were
Of
like, all right,
course.
let's
I
go.
love
We're
that.
wogs.
It's like an unspoken connection. It's just instant,
It's
isn't
an
it?
unspoken connection. It is. And just the slang and the bop and I think we just felt really comfortable with each other. And you were really clear on what you wanted, how you wanted your hair to look, what you wanted, your whole dedication to the process and your commitment. You just had blinkers on. And I remember being pretty impressed by that, to be honest.
Oh.
And so doing your hair, I can't remember what we spoke about, but we got into the deep conversation straight away. And I'm like, this girl is my girl and this is my jam. These are my people.
I remember talking about how intense my journey was through bodybuilding. It was like
Yeah.
36 weeks of prep, and I was like, I just wanted to tell everybody how hard it was because I was like, I fucking did this. I did this.
Exactly. And I remember there was a bit of stress around it. And I remember
Mm.
like I think this is you, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I was pretty like, whoa, because it was really intense. It's really rigid. It's really strict. You were saying you had like a Reese's piece for a snack. Was that you? And you could only have
No.
half of it? Or it's like after the comp or something like that?
I remember those donuts that were in Thomastown that the rage of they were about 19 years
Ah,
ago,
the
the Nutella
Nutella donut.
donuts. What was that? It was in
Yes.
Thomastown. I can't remember. Was it mixed
Little
donuts?
bakery. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just a bakery, and then he
It was.
started doing,
Yep.
yes, mixed donuts. So I was like, I couldn't have them. He just opened up at that stage, and Mark's like, we'll get them after. And he had a box, and I was just
Ah,
like
okay.
so excited. Yeah, afterwards, because I said I'm going to be
Yes.
able to get mixed
Well,
donuts for the first time.
yes, I remember something like that. And I just remember you like explaining like how, maybe it wasn't you, but in that industry, it's like half a rice cracker with like half a tablespoon of peanut butter is like your treat. It's so rigid.
Hmm.
Anyway, I was very impressed. We had a deep conversation. We laughed about all the WOG connections. I did your hair, and I honestly remember feeling, I know that she's going to win. You just had this
Oh.
energy about you. You had manifested the shit out of it. You'd taken the action. I knew you were going to win that day. And I'm like, yeah, my girl, I'm doing the winner's hair. I know she's going to come home and win. And
Close. I
yeah,
came third that day.
yeah, you placed,
Close.
yeah, but that's still you placed, right?
I
Out of how
did.
many women? You had a medal
Yeah.
on you. So that's huge. And that was the first time we met. And I remember it was just an instant great connection. But they're the things that stood out about you. Like we got deep into the conversation. You were very present. You were very determined. And you had that manifester mindset. And I think that energy, when someone has that energy and that mindset, you find each other. It stands out in a crowd.
Fine.
And it was an interesting group that we were in. So that was my first
It
impression
sure
of you. And
was.
I think by then your love with Mark, like your relationship was fairly new as well.
It
Is that right?
was. It was very new. Yeah, we were
Yeah.
just together. I think. Oh, it was just. I think it was around a year. It was around a year then, and yeah, he was. It was just that very start you love, and he was, so supportive through my journey of
So
bodybuilding, and
supportive. I remember that. Yeah.
yeah, he
I
was. He
met
dropped
him.
me
He
off.
came, right? He came on
He
the day.
did.
Yeah.
He did. He dropped me off
Yeah.
and came back
Didn't
as
he
well
do your
before to
spray
pick me.
tan as well or something?
No, the makeup artist did my spray tan.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, no,
yeah,
he
it's
did
very
it.
blurry now, but
It's a long
he was
time
very
ago.
involved.
He was so
A long
involved, and
time.
he was at the
Yeah.
back. He helped me do everything. He's just, yeah, and he's still incredibly supportive of everything I do. So that has not changed one bit. So I'm very blessed.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And the other
But
thing I
yes,
remember from the second time we did it was just your trust in my vision.
yeah,
And so we were a great team because you trusted where I wanted to go. You didn't want the daggy 80s hair.
no.
And we had fun and we laughed and I just felt good in your presence like I always do.
Well, that's the big thing when it comes to working together with absolutely anything, when it comes with hair or whatever it is when you're working with someone, it needs to be that you need to have that some form of connection where, you can relate with your ethnicity. I can't even say it, ethnicity. Oh my God. Can you say that for me? Ethnicity? No,
That's how you
say
say
it.
it. That's how you
Say
say it.
it. Say
Just like
the word.
that's it. Ethnicity.
Ethnicity, Jesus. Early. There's just so many things that we clicked on, and the fact that we just spoke the same language through connections and through vibrations, and I just felt that super calmness over me. I was like, I can trust this girl. I know I can, because I did, as you said, I had this vision of perfection of what I really wanted on the day, and bodybuilding was the first hard thing that I really ever did in my life for myself, so I had a lot of expectations, and you exceeded all of
Mhm.
them. And I knew I could do that from the minute we started talking. It was beautiful.
Yeah, it was really beautiful. I'm curious, what was your first impression of me if you didn't already just say it?
Well, just a sense of like, okay, all is good. Because I was so
Yeah,
nervous, and I've seen women jump on stage and they hate their hair and they hate their makeup and they hate their bikini. And I was
yeah,
like, these are the things that matter the most right now. And I just want to be able for the morning to be super, super relaxed and super chilled,
yeah,
and not let get nerves get the better of me so early on at the day. Because it was like
yeah.
6 a.m. at that stage.
Oh, it
Was
was
it?
like a wedding. It was like a
It
wedding.
was.
It was
It
that
was
kind
like
of
a
vibe
wedding.
in the morning. Yeah.
It was
And we were
chaos,
very
hair, makeup.
hyper. Yeah, it was all happening.
I think when a very intense sort of day starts like that, you want it to start in a way where it's just positive and happy, and because it can flow throughout the day. If you start off in a
Yeah,
really erratic way, it can definitely leak through the rest of the day. So, yes,
absolutely.
thank you.
Oh, it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure.
And then
So,
fast forward like 3 years. 3 years? Just
um,
it was just before COVID.
2018 about when I started getting into this world,
Yes,
like
you popped.
professionally. Yeah.
Yes, you popped up on my Instagram, and I saw Inner Guidance Kinesiology, and I'm like, no way, that's Michelle. I just was getting out of the gym and starting my coaching at that stage as well. So I was
Yeah.
like, we have gone through this holistic new approach to life where we've just sort of broken free from burnt out, chaotic world.
Mm,
And we've reconnected in a way where we were these new people, but with the same core values and beliefs.
yeah. Yeah. And it was so easy to drop back in when we connected. When I met you, I felt like I've known you forever and I see you as a friend and it just works. And I remember the first time you came in for a session at my house. And it just, I mean, we'd had some Instagram, interaction, but it just felt like I saw you yesterday. It was so easy. And they're the kind of people I want more in my life and friends and definitely in business where it just feels easy to drop in. Totally different people, totally different histories and life paths, but it's that energy or the mindset. There's something that's known and that's very comforting.
It is. It's just super safe, and just
Yeah.
when you create that foundation, you click on core beliefs, it's the rest is just easy.
Yeah.
And it kind of takes away, you don't have to keep trying each conversation or try and connect, try
Yeah.
for that extra connection or try
Yeah.
for that, what can I relate with her, when it's
Yeah.
just like when they kind of giving you nothing. So it's
Yeah.
really beautiful to just
Click.
just click and
Yeah.
just connect.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about you. So you were into the kinesiology world. What is that for our listeners?
Yeah. So kinesiology, essentially, it's a stress management therapy.
Mm-hmm.
It's a holistic stress management therapy, and holistic meaning that we look at the body as a whole. So we've got the energy body, consisting of your meridians, your nadis, the chakras, energy flow, the chi through your body, your physical body, mental and emotional. And so when we're looking at stress and we're trying to understand the root cause of the stress and then the remedy, how we can get the body back into balance, we
Mm-hmm.
need to talk to each body that I just mentioned
Mm-hmm.
the mind, the mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical.
Mm-hmm.
And so to understand kinesiology, though, you really need to understand that we're not just a physical body. We have a whole energetic system in the same way that we have a digestion system, a respiratory system, an arm, a leg. We have the energy centers, the meridians. They all work together, and their job is to nourish and nurture our body. And also, they're constantly working to come back into balance. That's the natural state that our body likes to be in. So to understand how kinesiology works, you need to understand that principle. And so when we're doing kinesiology, we're working to find a stress in your body, understand what is the contributing factor. How did the stress get there? Is it from your relationships? Is it from something you're not eating or eating? Is it from a block in an energy center? We look to understand it. And that's where the client gets really empowered in this type of therapy, because they're getting that self-inquiry. They're understanding themselves on a deeper level. I always crack it when my husband leaves his jocks on the floor because it triggers X, Y, Z, or it makes me feel frustrated or unheard or unseen. And then that causes my stress to grip my teeth, and then I'm grinding my teeth, and now my jaw is sore. Like, everything is connected. So through a kinesiology session, we use something called muscle testing to speak to your body. And this is one of the most important and pretty profound tools that we have when it comes to connecting with your body. And we test your muscle to see if it is strong or weak when you think or talk about a stress. This is like a snippet, right? I could explain it in a really detailed way, but I'll try and simplify it. And this works through your nervous system in the same way that if you're cold, your senses pick up on it and your muscles contract. If you think about something stressful, your muscles can contract, or they can go really weak and exhausted. And so I'm here communicating to your body, or being the interpreter to what your body wants to say, using your muscle test. And one thing that's important to note is that you're always in the lead. The client is always in the lead. Your body has an innate wisdom within it that is always communicating to you. And we kinesiologists use your muscle test to interpret that information. We interpret that information so we can help you diffuse some of the stress in the moment. And sometimes we do that by holding acupressure points or clearing energy out of the meridians or doing energy work over a chakra. Sometimes we use affirmations, or just by talking about the stress or the emotion, your body will clear the stress. But also the client is doing a lot of the work, because it's connecting them to what's actually going on in my internal world and giving them that deeper understanding to then make real changes when they leave the session. So kinesiologists are there to help bring your body back into balance, to help you diffuse and clear stress out of your system so your body can self-heal, which is what it's designed to do. But we're also there to help connect you to your body, so you've got a deeper understanding of what's going on, what are my patterns, where are my blocks, what emotions need to be expressed that are stored in my body. Because if it's not out, speaking of emotions, it's in. And so we really help people to get things out, bring their body back into balance, and then implement change in their life.
It's just such a beautiful process, because I felt it on so many levels. Like, I think my first experience with kinesiology was way before I actually saw you. Me and
Yep.
Mark went to I think it was a spiritual, like a market, but it was all full of like tarot readers, and it was
Yeah,
incredibly cool.
Yep.
So there was, when you went into like the hall, there was like all these stalls set up, and there was a kinesiologist. And she's like, do you know what it is? I'm like, no idea. So she sat me down, and she was just doing some readings, and she was doing some tapping on my hands. No, my hand was like this, sorry. And she was tapping like that.
Yep.
And she was asking things. And then she said, I can't even remember what it was, but she said something. And then she was going through like a story of my family, and she mentioned my brother. I can't remember exactly what it was,
Yep.
but I wept like a baby. Like tears just came out of me, and then she hugged me and she held me.
Oh.
And I just remember, like, I didn't even think that what she told me was actually upset me.
Yep.
Like, I just, like, when I think about it, I was like, I don't remember being emotional about that issue. But obviously my body had stored it to a point where tears were falling out my eyeballs. And I was like, what? Even Mark was there. He was just like, what? Like, he was so like,
we call them the truth tears. When you just hit that point and you can't, it's not a conscious effort to cry. It just, you strike a chord and they just come pouring out. The truth
struck a chord all right. And Mark's like, I want to do this. I want to do this. He didn't get the same experience, but just watching me, he was like, that's nuts.
Yeah.
And then when I was like, I need to see this woman. But when I went to go to her shop, I just couldn't get that connection with her like I had with you with the hair experience. So I saw her a couple of times, and she kind of, like, at that stage of my life, I wasn't really into, like, I wasn't incredibly opened. I was, but at a certain point, she started talking about past lives a little bit too much for me at that stage of my life. So I was like, there was a little bit of a disconnect after that experience. So I kind of stopped doing that. And then when I saw your name pop on my Instagram, and I'm like, all right, I like kinesiology because of that experience I had, and I like Michelle. So let's give this a go. And honestly, those two things had just like stuck like glue. And yeah, you were a big help for me during my first trimester, especially with Atlas, because that was incredibly hard moment for me. So the fact that, yeah, I believed in what kinesiology had to offer, because I did definitely believe that the body stores emotions in a different way because of the experience I had. But yeah, it was so important to find someone that I really actually liked and agreed with.
Yeah, and you need to feel safe in that space, because, as you know, you can go in thinking, all right, and this was you because you're very determined like that. Like, I want to work on this today. And I'm like, okay, we may get there, but your body, you know, we're working, when we muscle test, we're talking to the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind rules, you know, what is it, like 95% of what we do and who we are. So when we muscle test, we're actually talking, going past your conscious mind that has fears and programming and blocks or, you know, personas, and we're going into what I like to call the truth. We access more of our truth. And so sometimes we come into a session, we're like, I want to work on my money issues. And then your body's like, it's not time, or sometimes it's not safe. Or no, the priority is we need to go to D before we can go to, you know, ABC.
What do you mean by it's not safe?
You know, well, sometimes I believe, through my personal experience in therapy, which I've been in on a healing journey for 10 years with all different type of therapies in that, but also through, like, professionally speaking, trauma is stored in our body, memories are stored in our body, and our nervous system needs to feel safe enough to bring up certain trauma or certain issues. And so if your nervous system doesn't feel safe and you're not there yet, things won't always come up. I believe that's part of that innate wisdom, our mechanisms and our primal brain. It's wired that way to keep us safe.
Yeah.
And so even in my experience, just over the last 3 months, I've had some really, if I'm honest, like, scary themes and traumas that have come up, memories that I totally blocked out through my 20s, that have come up after having Georgia, my daughter, who's 8 months now. And part of that is because I've done a fair bit of work, a lot of work, to get my nervous system to a place and my relationships to a place where I feel safe enough to actually look at this really deep stuff, this hard stuff.
There
So
is
that's just
nothing more
one
triggering
example.
than motherhood, is it? Motherhood is
Oh
exposes
man,
so much.
yeah, so much. I saw this amazing quote the other day that I shared. I can't remember all of it, but it was essentially like, motherhood leaves no woman the same, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Oh, it said something like it's brutal and beautiful, and that is it. That is it for me. It is. It's brutal and it's beautiful. But
Wow.
I feel like some of the most important challenges, healing, facing my shit, dealing with things, um, just evolution in me has happened in this, not only in the 8 months that Georgia's been here, but in my pregnancy journey. The most
So
important, like yeah.
so did you have a similar experience with me with your pregnancy as well,
Similar to you.
in regards to a little
Oh, yeah.
bit
So
triggering?
I think that's part of like, yeah, so many triggers. What's not triggering about being a parent and being pregnant and giving birth and all the awakenings that happen? It's
My
unfathomable. You
goodness.
can't actually describe it in words, and every person goes through a different journey. And then there are some people, I don't know, Steph, if you've experienced this, where I'm talking about, this has happened and this has come up, and some people just give me a bit of a blank stare, and they seem like they definitely haven't had, uh, an experience. I don't want to say awakening experience, but they haven't had those type of, character stretching
No.
experiences in that way. And I'm like, man, is it just me? Like, what is going on here?
I
Because
I definitely have.
sometimes it
I
seems
definitely
nicer.
have.
It seems more peaceful.
I don't know if they're lying to me, first of all.
That could be a thing because it's no easy
You're
to talk
lying
about.
to me. No.
Yeah,
Or it just hasn't happened yet, whether
yeah, yeah,
you've done a lot of stuff that you're in a pretty good place,
yeah.
or you're just not ready for that sort of stuff yet. So it's
Well, it's
either
not the
one.
thing. It's not the thing to trigger you. It's not the catalyst.
No,
Yeah.
no. But for me, the first trimester was
Tell me about
brutal,
it.
as
Yeah, let's
you
revisit.
know.
Yes.
Oh my God. So obviously, the fitness industry was, fitness in general was a really big part of my life.
Yeah.
Bodybuilding, did that for a few years, and then it stayed in my life because I jumped to working. I was in corporate when I met you. I was training then, and when I was doing the comps, and then I got out of it, and bodybuilding was a beautiful steering wheel for me to really get out of that corporate world, because I got out of that. I fell in love with training, and then it made me go into the gym industry,
Yeah.
and it made me manage the gym and be that type of person where I could be vulnerable and have really gorgeous conversations with all walks of life.
Mm.
As you know, the gym is just not your regular people. It's this, or your trainers or your bodybuilders. There's so many different
Everybody. Yeah.
types of people,
Yeah.
everybody. And that really gave me that chance to talk deeply to people and connect with so many people and see people, the way they're choosing to live their lives, and just like, wow, like
Mm.
it just gave me this new sense of glasses, really.
Yeah.
So it was just really beautiful to do that. And then my first trimester, it was, I just, before that, I was just married. I was fittest I've been in a while, happiest and the healthiest, all at the same time. And then being pregnant and then letting go of that. That was a really big, ugly tear. Like, I
Mm.
spoke of this in one of my episodes before, and it was just like my feminine was like, you need to sit down. But then my masculine's like, but you need to do things. You need to start your business. I had just started health coaching. I was, just had my first few clients. I was on the ball was starting to roll, and I was like,
Yeah.
no. I was
You
like,
were
don't leave
you were
me.
sad. You were sad and scared to let go. It
A
was very
thousand
hard.
percent.
Yeah.
A
We were
thousand
holding
percent.
on. There was a big part of you that was, and I'm saying this so confidently, not because I was just in your sessions, because I went through it too. A big part of you was desperately like holding on, that tight grip of like, I don't know, what's it going to look like? Who am I going to be? Can I let go of control?
Oh
I
my
have all
God.
these dreams. Yeah,
Holding on for dear life,
yeah.
And I just remember being like, I want to do this health coaching. And I remember you telling me like, maybe it's just not time. And I remember just being really angry at that stage, because I was like, but no, like I work so hard. Finally, I'm on the track that I know I'm supposed to be on. But little did
Mm.
I know that I had to learn so much, so many more new things about motherhood, about myself, about, like I said this as well. I look at a photo of me on my wedding day or just before I fell pregnant versus now, and I don't even see the same person. I
Wow,
look
that's really interesting to hear, Steph, because you were
I
really
do.
in you in that time.
Yeah, just letting go of who I was, but I'm so grateful that I didn't hang on too much, and I did finally let go, because I think the fact that I was quite sick as well through my first trimester, that really
Mm.
allowed me to really just sit and just be like, okay, there's issues here. There's obviously, triggered in sections of and areas of dealing with mental health, because I did feel a little bit depressed. I felt incredibly sad,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that was also a part of me, an old part of me that was dying, and I was transforming from maiden to mother. And I see that as such a beautiful catalyst, and just so, like, it was such medicine. Like, that moment is just incredibly healing. And I'm if I could speak to my old self again, I'd just be like, just flow, baby, just go with the flow and just sit
You
with it
know,
and just
something I want to say about that part of you when you said, I didn't want to let go. I was holding on. It was really hard. Here's the beautiful thing that I get to see when I'm witnessing people show up for themselves in sessions. Even though there was a part of you that was still holding on and felt that resistance, you kept showing up to sessions, Steph. You kept
yeah,
showing up for yourself to say, I'm acknowledging that this part of me really wants to hold on and is sad to let go. And I'm also acknowledging that I know there's a part of me, another part of me that wants to emerge. And, it's a really tricky balance to hold the multi dimensions of yourself, but that's what you actually did every time you came into the session. You didn't stay stuck with that, iron grip. You kept
no,
showing up to
no,
feel it, to let her speak, to let the parts of you that wanted to hold on speak, and to let the parts of you that were coming and wanting to emerge, to let her out. And you did that really beautifully. And I think it's really important to acknowledge that, because sometimes we forget that by showing up and expressing that part that's holding on, you're actually moving through it.
yeah. That's it. I think just letting that, like, you need to leave so many things during motherhood, like things that don't serve me anymore, because there's so many things that didn't. And the body shame and and the body changing, and letting go of my fitness and all those sort of things that I had to really let go of. I see it now and I'm like, I don't need that right now. I don't have to train for hours at the gym anymore. I don't have to have a six pack anymore. I don't have to have all these things anymore, because they don't serve me as a mother. They don't serve me as being the best version of myself, because I want to be a good role model for my son. I don't want to hang on to all these old traumas where, I'm having, body issues and being a particular way of the way I see myself. Like, I need to move on
Mm.
from that in order to
Yeah,
be, especially if I have a girl in the future. Like, I need to
yeah,
do this work
that's where I'm at. Yeah.
now.
And if we bring it back to what you were saying before about the maiden to mother transition, which I'm still in, have not wrapped my head around it. I've got training wheels on that bicycle because I'm 8 months postpartum. But I feel for me, what I'm hearing in you say about that transition, the sadness. And I don't think this gets spoken about a lot. So I'd love to get into
No.
a little bit more, because it's exactly what you said. I've had that experience. You need to give up so much. There was one point when we were going through, the different stages of preparing to have Georgia, that we sold my car. We bought a new car. Michael sold his car. I've got my old, teen car. And this car is the little blue John Depp mobile, because my number plate was John Depp. It's a little tiny blue button. Everyone
Cute.
knows it. It was an extension of my personality. And when Michael started driving that, because I had this new beautiful car, the mum car, I cried. I felt angry. I felt like someone's taking something away from me. And that's even just one example. I didn't realize how attached to the car I was. And it happened so quick, that I was like, oh shit, I'm really giving this up. And then I remember packing up, my old clothes, packing up my healing room. And that was big for me because I'd started my business 2 years before, poured everything into that. That was my first baby in a way, besides my dog. Um, and when I started packing up that room, because I wasn't going to use it anymore, Michael was going to use it for work and gaming. I cried again. I remember standing at the door and just said to Mike, I just need to have a cry. I've got some grief coming up. And he's like, it's okay, you'll get it back. And it's funny actually now. I'm in the room. He set it up for
Wow.
me. We're here just like that. Oh, that's a moment, actually.
Of
Oh, I can
course.
feel that emotion coming up.
Babe.
Oh, I'm already here. It's gone in a blink of an eye. But I remember standing at the door and just letting go. And I said to him, you know, I have no place now in the house that's just mine. The kitchen's not mine, even though I'll be living in there. The bedroom will be shared with Georgia and you. Where's my place? And these are happy tears, but at the time, there is so much grieving. And just, I take my hat off to all women, and I hear you all and I see you all for the hardness that comes, the challenge with you let go of your body, your hobbies. And not all women and not all the time through every pregnancy.
Oh, you got
Yeah,
me now.
right? You let go of the body that you knew. You let go of the clothing that you used to wear, the job, you know, my car, my healing room. You let go, let go, let go. I've got goosebumps. There's so much giving already before you hit the actual, I have a baby now that I have to keep alive giving. And it's really important to hold space for that grieving, even if you don't want to let go. It's a deep sadness that can feel very conflicting, even when the baby's here, because you're so happy in so many ways, and there's an important loss that needs to be grieved. It's very important to feel that sadness. So what's coming up for you right now?
Oh man, I'm just, you're talking about the room. So
Your
in
room.
my,
Yes, I remember seeing that transition. Tell me what's coming up.
yeah. So my room in our old place that we sold when Atlas was a few months old, maybe 4, 5. No, he was walking, so it was probably just before November. Anyway, I had as soon as we moved into that house, it was a 4-bedroom house. I'm like, one's going to be my yoga room. What's going to be my meditation room, my prayer room, my room where I just can be me. And I journaled in this room. I had so many groundbreaking moments where I cried, and just transformative moments in this room where I was just able to be my ugly, messy self. And it was so healing for me throughout those years of being in that house. Anyway, that was the home birth room where I had put the pool in there as well. So
Mm.
I had put the pool in that room. We obviously transferred to the hospital through my birth story. But when we did the final clean of the house, I'm going to start crying just thinking about it now.
Good, let it out. I love this.
I was packing up the room and we were saying goodbye. No, sorry, we had final clean, and Mark's like, let's just do a final goodbye of the house. So we went to the kitchen, we went to our bedroom. But when we went into that room, holy shit, the emotions that came out, it was
Mm.
just, I was just so thankful for having a space where I was allowed to be myself.
Oh,
And
I've got goosebumps.
and just, grateful for just able to have something like that, and just a space where, when Mark played his games or, was on COD or whatever he wanted to do, I was able to do me and journal. And I just remember just having really beautiful healing sessions there and just really being me. And, just grateful for being able to labor in that room and be with my son. And just, yeah, it was really nice. Even when he was born, we spent so much time in that room and had
Mm.
2 yoga mats, and I'd put the baby on that and he'd just watch
I
me do
love
yoga. And it
seeing
was,
those videos and your dog. Yeah, it's really special. It's really special.
it is,
And
because you're letting go. You're just letting go of all
yeah,
those things, and it's you're allowed to simultaneously have two emotions, and that's so many things like I've spoken about with my coaching. And I'm just like, just because you are grateful of having a baby and having a healthy baby in your arms, it doesn't mean you're allowed to be sad for certain things. I was sad for, my body leaving. I was sad for not being able to train as much. I was sad for leaving that room. I was sad for not having a home birth. I was sad for so many things, but they had to exist separately to my happiness with Atlas, because if I just bury it and just suppress it and just replace it with my happiness, it's going to come and bite me in the ass 5 years down the track. And I
yeah,
didn't want that. I wanted it
it
to
does.
be there together and flow
Yeah,
through together, and
yeah,
finally let the happiness overpower it, because that's what it eventually did. but
Yes.
I'm still grateful for all those things and those lessons, because ultimately that's what they are.
Yeah, I had that experience too where I felt guilty for the deep sadness that I had in the beginning and at times throughout. And then, you just need someone to remind you, hey, are you doing what you do for others? Hold space for that sadness. It's allowed to be there. Um, and when I remember that, or someone reminds me to come back to that, it does allow the sadness to run its course. And the majority of it all is really beautiful and happy, and that does spill over. But when you don't acknowledge any emotion, and for now, we're talking about the sadness, it definitely grows and it can take over. Um, the Yeah, so that transition, and it's such a process of layer by layer. When I chose to finish work early because I knew and I could feel Georgia needed me to do that. My body needed me to do that. I needed me to do that. I cried sending the email, canceling my last workshop and sending the money back. One, because I was still had that pleasing mode of feeling bad for others and letting others down,
Yeah.
that I've definitely grown a lot from, even, from that. But also because I was saying goodbye again, and it's a power. It's actually a really wonderful power, and it's a real blessing to be a mother and experience growing a child in your womb, and having the strength, even when it sucks, even when it hurts, even when you're holding on tight, even when you're crying and you're depressed about it, to constantly, because it doesn't end through pregnancy, you're
No.
constantly letting go of something and
Yeah.
attaching to something new. But what helped me ground through those hard moments, besides holding space for my sadness, one of my older cousin, my god sister, who really showed up in my time of pregnancy in a way I didn't expect but really enjoyed, she kept saying to me, "You're letting go of a lot, but there are going to be so many firsts to look forward to." That's what she said. "You've got so much to look forward to." And I want to simmer in this for a moment, because it does go beyond being pregnant, being a mother. It goes into so many other aspects of life for all people. If you've experienced trauma throughout your life, and I definitely have had a lot in my childhood, your body learns to be in a state of fight or flight, or learns to
Mm-hmm.
be in survival. And we spoke about this in your sessions at certain
Mm-hmm.
points,
Mm-hmm.
where what we have,
Mm-hmm.
we are holding on to dearly because we are surviving, and we don't trust that if we let go, we will still be abundant. We will have support. If we let go, we don't trust and feel safe enough that we will have, or we will be held.
Of
And I was
course.
in that, my brain was in that when I was thinking about, I'm losing my job or my spaces, or I'm letting go, or my body, or who I used to be. I couldn't yet see until she started saying, "But there's so much to come," that I'm actually making space. Even though I've done kinesiology, I've done spiritual work, blah, blah, blah. In this time, I wasn't seeing it that way until I did. And when I made that change of, yeah, I'm actually letting go because I'm becoming something so new, and my life is going to be filled with so many new, beautiful things, a lot more happiness came into my life, of relaxation. And I
True.
was like, fucking yeah, let's go. And it's actually helped me so much now. Like, we moved house only 2 weeks ago, and that house was big for us to leave for similar reasons to you. We went through COVID there together. Michael and I both started our businesses in that house. We did some deep healing of our relationship in that house that included so much ugliness, awkwardness, and all the beauty. I had all that solace time in COVID where the world was crumbling as I knew it. We conceived, labored, and birthed Georgia in that home. So that home really did a lot for us.
That's beautiful.
When it came to move, which was a really beautiful synchronicity, universal synchronicity, I kept saying to myself, everyone's like, "Aren't you sad? You birthed Georgia here. You've got all these memories." I said, no, I'm so grateful to be in a place in my life where I'm able and safe enough to leave things I love, to actually choose to let go of things I love for something better.
And that's the bit, letting
Yeah,
go. That letting go, once you do get rid of that vice grip, so many beautiful changes actually start pouring into your world.
yeah,
Like you just that trust and having ultimate trust in God and in the fact that you got it, girl. Like everything is going to be okay. And that
mm,
is such a muscle because the more you practice that, it just gets easier,
yeah,
especially when you have a child. It's like I know that the ground will always be there when I next jump. I know that. And I
mm,
trust that. And I trust in my decisions and the support network that I've worked really hard to create for myself, including my family and some beautiful friends of mine. It is always going to be okay.
mm,
Always. And, you
yeah,
know, I always think about the really worst case scenario, like the
yeah,
absolute worst,
yeah,
homeless, this, that. And I'm like, that'll never happen. I know
mm,
that'll never happen because I have family, so much family. Like it's always a possibility. But that I'm so far from what I'm really scared of. And I think is just learning of your body's way of just trying to deal with stress and thinking that it is ultimately dying, where you have to come back into your body and just remind yourself like yes it might feel like it but it's just an end of a moment, and then I'm really grateful for that, but it's like you said, it's just time for the next beautiful thing that I'm
yeah,
allowing space for.
yeah. It's beautiful to let go of something you love or that you don't love, in the trust and knowing that you're moving towards something
Yeah,
better. So you're not losing. And that's what I would tell, like you said before, I would tell my pregnant self, you're not losing anything. You're
no,
stepping into more abundance, more happiness, more joy than you could ever imagine, than you've ever experienced. You're moving into different, and different is wonderful with its challenges.
of
It's
course.
all wrapped in together.
It's just it's very scary but beautiful. Like what was the quote that you said?
Brutal
um,
and beautiful. It is. It
Brutal and
absolutely is.
beautiful. It's going to be my mantra for the next few months, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. It encapsulates it pretty well.
What would be the hardest thing that, like, one of the hardest things that you reckon with being you're still in your first year of becoming a mum? What do you
Yeah.
think the hardest part of that was?
What's the hardest? What's been the hardest? There
Or even
it
something that you actually didn't know that was going to happen. You know, I think that's a big one as
yeah, that's a
well.
good one. So, okay, something I didn't know was going to happen that has was very hard, and there's still some processing and grief for me. Was actually the support I thought I was going to get, and I didn't. That was very hard. Michael and I have chose to do things in a way that suits us, and it
Mhm.
has looked different to a lot of what our family is used to, and even some friends. And what I call and what feels like for me not great support with, doubting what we're doing, questioning our choices, asking us to constantly explain, or giving us you know,
Mm,
their tidbits, or just not being okay with certain things for their own reasons, versus just getting around us and supporting us, even if it's like, I don't understand you, I don't agree, but we love you, what can we do? I really
yeah.
needed that. Michael needed that. Georgia needed that. And in different times, in different places, we didn't get that, and that was extremely hard. Really, really hard. It still feels hard in some relationships, but it's getting better. The lesson that came out of that for Michael and I is that we realized that we needed to really dig deep, to really trust and back ourselves, to be really confident in our choices and understand our choices, and to also call in and seek the right support. And in certain relationships that were already established, do the work and the healing and have the conversations to create a better relationship for better support.
Of
That I
course.
did not expect. That was a
Yeah.
whole other thing outside the labor of being a mum that really took me for six and honestly exhausted me emotionally. I'm still
Imagine.
recovering from it. But I've had the support, we're doing the work and it's changing, which is great. So when you said before, I've got this great network around me, a little part of my heart felt sad because I know I'm not fully there. My net isn't there exactly where I want it to be. And even though there are many people offering love and support, it takes time to build and create the trust and find exactly what you need. So that was really, I didn't expect that, very challenging, but good lessons that came out of it too. And something that And then like just on a practical level, like totally practical, what's fucking hard is not getting enough sleep and always giving. You know, it's wonderful and a blessing, but man, it's hard.
Of
It's hard
course.
having to stretch your brain into so many other areas that you never had to think of. You know, it might have just, when you go to work and you don't have a kid, you go and do your thing, you come home and you and your partner come back. But with a kid, it's constantly like, are they fed? Have they slept enough? Are their emotional needs being met? Am I dealing with my own shit? How am I talking to them? La, la, la. What have they eaten? What's the environment like? Are they going to fall over? There's just so much mental labor that is constantly happening. No wonder we need our room that we can just shut the door and totally be us, whether we laugh, cry, scream, dance, and do it all at the same time. And then the other part is that because of my what I feel not having that super solid, super
Yeah,
aligned support network, and again, many people have offered it, but it's got to feel right, is
of
that
course.
you end up doing a lot of this. It's meant to take a village. It is meant to take a
Hmm.
village. It used to take a village. And in our Western society, there are a lot of mothers or parents at home on their own for long periods of time, juggling all the things. And that can be extremely lonely and very, very challenging.
I think about if I'm alone, like if Mark's got to work back late or he's gone away for the weekend with the boys, which happens in a blue moon. But like when it does, I'm like, I go through that freak out moment. I'm like, fuck, I've got to do this all by myself for the
Yeah.
next few days. But then I have that clicking moment. I'm like, but there's women that do it all the time. There's women that come here from another country and or don't have a partner and don't have family. And I'm like, how?
What happens to you in that moment when you think of those women? What happens? Does
Yes.
it give you power or does it give you guilt? Does it give you both? What
It
happens to
gives
you?
me it gives me guilt for sooking, but then it gives me power. So
Yeah,
then I'm just like, look, you can do this for a few days. It's fine. And
yeah,
you know, dancing. It's going to sound because you said dancing before. Dancing with Atlas has been such medicine for me
yeah.
too. So if he's like losing it or screaming, or I'm just like having a bit of a moment where I'm just like, I've got 5 minutes before dinner, or I don't know what to do, we put on our favorite music, and he just puts his head on my shoulder and
Oh,
we just
what?
dance, and it's medicine, it's
Yeah,
healing, it's a way to connect. If he's had a big emotion or I've had a big emotion, it's that time where we can actually come together and just be like, it's all
yeah.
good, baby, we've got each other and there's nothing
That's
wrong right
beautiful.
now.
That's beautiful. What's
So
your go-to song?
he has his little moment, like different, like he'd like bangers at the start, like he liked techno and
That's
stuff.
you. That's all you. Yeah.
I know.
Ba, ba, da, ba, 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 ba,
Yeah,
ba, ba,
exactly.
ba.
He does a speaker, like he puts his hand on a speaker and he twerks sometimes.
Yeah.
It's so funny. But at the moment, because my brother loves pirate sea shanties, I know that's
Oh
really
yeah.
random,
Yeah, yeah.
but he
That's
loves
fun.
Irish pub songs at the moment.
Oh, how
And
fun
he's
is that?
yeah, so that's on repeat at the moment.
Yeah.
So he's loving it. So we just sit together and we just sing together, and he's just, yeah, it's beautiful. And I think
Yeah.
having those little things throughout the day where you're helping yourself or your baby or each other at the same time, just doing little things and dancing or taking time out for myself, or if Mark is home, I just go for a little, just sit outside and have a breather or whatever it is. Like having those things that do fill your cup up a little bit. Like it doesn't have to be like it was before babies. Like I said before, for me
You
it was
can't. Most of the
hours
time
at
it
the
can't be,
gym.
right? So you have to find
But
other
see you,
ways.
babe, go to train for 2 hours, work it out, bye. No way. No way. It's just not like that anymore. It's, I'm gonna chill for a little bit and I'm just gonna take a breather because 5 minutes is sometimes all I have to have me. So
What's
it's
something
just
that you didn't expect that took you for six?
lots of things. Lots of things. I think birth, through the newborn stage, there was a few things that I didn't know that happened to women. The first one was when my milk came through. When my milk came through, I thought I was having a panic attack. I thought I was having mastitis, but when I just had colostrum, I'm like, is that a thing? I remember Atlas crying, and my in-laws were over, and it was just so frantic. And I had to go in my room, and I'm like, what is going on? What is happening to me? And I remember calling my birth keeper, and I'm like, what's going on? She's like, just, take, she gave me a few things to take and natural stuff. And I just remember going in the shower and I just seeing my boobs just completely engorged. I'm like, oh, my milk's coming.
Yeah.
So it was just like that. I had no idea.
Wow.
No idea about how, because it was really full on, like
It
a
is.
really big experience. Another really scary moment that not scary, but very, a big release that I had, because I ended up having a C-section after we
Yeah.
transferred. And there was a lot of guilt and feelings of failure around that.
I remember you brought that into a session that you did. You felt, you were quite hard on yourself, actually.
Definitely. I had the clear strap on the scar. I'm just going to cry just thinking about it now. I had to pull it off, and they said just take it off after a few days. And I remember it was like day 10, and I still hadn't taken it off yet. So I'm like, you have to take it off. But it was my body saying, oh my God, you're going to get a release of emotion. But I was just using the fact that it's going to hurt to take it off. But I was masking that. So it took me 20 minutes to work up the courage to do it, to have a shower. And then it took me 20 minutes to slowly rip it off. But then when I came out and I sat on my bed, I just remember I had wailing to a point where Mark came in and he just held me, and I was just wailing and wailing because I was just so sad that I was cut open. I felt a piece of me that was really, I felt really violated, that my baby was technically ripped out of me. Like, that was so upsetting for me. And I had done so much work that I had thought that I was going to do it naturally. And the fact that I had to see that to all its glory, it's fucking brutal. It was brutal. And I actually recorded myself. I sent a Snapchat to my girlfriends going through the experience, and I was crying, and I saved it. And sometimes I look at it sometimes and I'm like, that was a really hard moment, but it got me to where I am, and it was a little platform of mine, because I can speak about it incredibly openly, and about my feelings about it. Because as we said, people were like, but you should be happy because you've got a healthy baby. But I'm allowed to still be upset about that. And I'm so grateful, but I'm also really sad as well. I'm allowed to feel both. Just allow me to do that. And I had to be, again, careful of who I shared those words to. And, just shared it with the ones that I trusted, and kept the rest to myself and my partner. So that was really intense.
It sounds really intense. And I know the work that you did, and then how your birth story went. It needs to be honored, and maybe needs to be honored again and again and again if that emotion still feels like it's there, because it's big.
It passes. It passes a lot. I feel it come and go a lot of the time. But again, I'm super incredibly grateful for my happy, healthy son. And it was just a thing that just happened to me, and I'm wearing it and taking it and trying to release it at the same time.
Yeah, and that moment that you said of being in the shower, taking 20 minutes to pull it off, or even with your milk coming in, I feel like there are so many of those silent, private moments where this girl who's becoming a mother, who's in charge of another life, however they were birthed or however that child came to that parent, where you it's so private, no one knows. Not many people talk about it. We don't always have to talk about it either.
No.
But these deep moments of raw confusion, emotion, sadness, happiness, it's just it's a very special, bizarre, whacked out, wonderful time. And all the mamas out there or parents out there who have those moments to yourself in that quiet and the crying or despair or whatever it is, I love you. I'm sending you love, because I can fucking relate. I can relate.
Yeah, sending all the love to the mamas out there.
Yeah.
Amazing. But before we close this conversation up, I just wanted to firstly tell you how grateful I am for you again, and for all the work that you helped me process. I think, talk about you a lot to all my girlfriends, and you're just amazing. And I've said this as well to you, like, I think when someone starts off doing something, there's a bit of a hesitation there because they're new and they're not good yet, and maybe I'll wait until they're a bit more popular or they've got a few years under your belt. But with you, I never felt that at all. It was, she's meant for this. This is her
Mm.
work, and you owned it, babe. Like, you were in there, and you were so good from the very beginning, and I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. That's really beautiful to hear. That's really wonderful to hear. I really appreciate it.
I mean
Thank
it
you so
from the
much.
bottom of my heart, babe. You're an absolute gun, and I want everyone to know that. But where can people find you as well?
Well, you can find me on Insta. That's my main way of communicating with the world. And the Insta is innerguidance_kinesiology. And I also have a podcast on Spotify called The Inner Guide. And that's definitely a very raw insert into my emotional world and into my mind and my essence. I'm on mat leave at the moment, but you can find me, talk to me, join my wait list, join my email list, and just get in my world, because I will be coming back in sometime soon when it feels right. But just to give that back to you, Steph, I love you, I adore you, I love seeing everything that you're doing, and I loved watching your transition through pregnancy. You showed up in every session so raw, like honoring yourself, all parts of yourself. Even when you thought you were being stubborn, or you thought you weren't, you were being totally raw. And I've seen, that's the blessing about my job, is that people feel safe enough to show their really raw, intimate world, emotional world with me. And I'm so grateful for that. It really is an honor and a pleasure to witness people and guide them, or just give them the space to do that. And you showed up again and again, and you're still doing that for yourself. And I hope that you hold that in pride, because sometimes it feels really messy. You think you're nuts, and you're like, it's messy, but actually emotions are messy, and they're meant to be that way. We've just grown up in a wog kitchen where nothing was allowed to be messy and everything had to be clean. And so one crumb seems like
disaster,
right? So I appreciate you. I love watching what you do. And definitely, as I was going through my pregnancy, I was thinking of you and looking to you for inspiration, because I could relate. I was the way that you cook for yourself and your child, the way that you grow your gardens, your veggies in your garden, the way you kept showing up in that room. I remember watching all those videos and going, I need that. So you've inspired me, and you've given me so much too in my journey. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, my love. I'm
And
always
it's the beginning of us.
It sure is. It sure is. There's just, we're creating space for so much beauty.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here with me.
Thank you, my love. It has. Oh, so much
Ciao.
love to you, my angel. Ciao, Bella.
Ciao, Bella. Ciao, ciao, ciao.
Ciao, 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 ciao. That's a wrap. I hope you enjoyed the episode and received a few good takeaways from it. If anyone popped into mind while you were listening that you feel may benefit from it, please share it across. Your support really helps promote my podcast. And to follow all the latest things that I'm up to at the moment, you can find me on Instagram at Steph Marie Holistic Healing. Thank you again, guys. Have the best day, and we'll see you on the next episode.